Hello, Rhonda. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. I was just getting settled in, and you were there already. That's great. Any questions while we're here before we get started?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay. Oh, looks like Mallory has arrived. Hello, Mallory. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. Good. You're here, and Rhonda is here. Do you have any questions before we get started?
No.
Okay. All right. Good. Light there. It's hard to believe it's week 5 already.
I know.
Yeah, I start to get sad when we get so close to being done. I so enjoy our time together and the teaching, and even though week 6 is officially our last, we might do a 7th, or the other thing I thought I'd offer instead of a 7th is 1 hour with each of you one-on-one to finalize any things that you need to still know. But we'll talk about that in a bit. That's probably a better solution if it's better for you all.
Yeah, I'm done for either one.
Yeah. Okay, so I did start the recording already. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can make some use of this time before we get officially started. I did a review of the reports that I have on my website to see, how many views I had on each of the reports, and I was shocked.
Just from other people like viewing to download them
to look at them,
or
to see,
purchase.
to look at,
Okay.
yeah, the number of views bears no resemblance to the number of purchased. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But let me pull this up if it's handy here. Yeah. Okay. Let's get Deana here. Hello, Deana. How are you? Hello, Deana. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. We're all here
Sorry,
now.
I'm late.
Oh, you're not. You're if you're late, you're
30
1
seconds.
minute. If you're 1 minute late, or you're 14 minutes early. Whatever.
True.
Whatever. I was just mentioning, since we're just passing a little time before we start, that I did a review of the reports on my website to see how many views each one had, and I was shocked when I saw that. And so I made a list of the top 50, and I put that on my website, and 8,000 views was the highest, which totally blew my mind. I had no idea that many people had been looking over the year. That's over the years. Um, at the reports, and trust me, that bears no resemblance to the amount purchased. That's for sure. No resemblance. But anyway, it was interesting to see all the views.
I know I'm a couple of those. I've looked a few times and in
Yeah.
awe of how beautiful they are.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just something I just love doing, is creating the reports, and I love that they look good and work for people. That's the most important part. But anyway, so I thought I'd just share that for a minute. That's on my website now, the top 50s report page.
Nice.
Okay, so that's it. So I started the recording, and so we'll get started. And let me make this a little bigger here. There we go. All right. So welcome to week 5. It is September 3rd, and the year is passing by so fast it's hard to believe. And hard to believe that we're in week 5 already of our course. As I mentioned a minute ago, officially we have 6 weeks, but if it's useful or needful, we'll do a week 7, and we can either do a week 7, or I'll be glad to spend an hour one-on-one with each of you at a time good for you, to finish up anything that you need to know or want to do. So anyway, that's food for thought for upcoming weeks. So let's get started. So I mentioned we're being recorded, and today we've got a couple things scheduled. We're going to have a little fun with the Sage dashboard and a couple other things that's not listed here that I've added. We're also going to do a review of the SQL statements, and we're going to take a good close look at inner join SQL statements. And we did talk about if statements, but we're going to talk about nested if statements and nested SQL statements and nested inner join statements. Nested just means you have 2 or more statements in basically one formula. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. So let's go on. All right, let's take a look at the Sage dashboard. And so down at the bottom of your Sage screen, like right there. So right there, you have a button that you can click, and it opens up to provide you with, I call them content cubes. This is a content cube, and this is a content cube. And I don't know how much you're aware of them or use them, but they're there, and there's a lot of different ones that you can choose to keep up there. Let me show you real quick. So if I go into dashboard, and when you start Sage each time, it'll always show, but if you don't want it to show, you unclick this. Let's see. Usually it's when I get somebody's database, it's always checked, and this shows. First thing I do is uncheck it because I don't need to see that when I'm doing reports. But basically, you get these little content cubes of information, and you have the opportunity to select different types. And so add or remove content, you can click here, and all kinds of things are available to you to show in this section. And all you have to do is click on them and make room for them and get rid of some of them that you don't need. And there's all kinds of topics too. And so you've got general ledger ones, payables, receivables, projects, and alerts. And so anyway, I just wanted to make you aware of that so that if it's useful to you, at least you know that it's there. Okay. And we'll slide this out of the way. Okay. And so that's how that works. And this is showing a little bit more about it. Okay. Something else about Sage, you can sync your Sage contacts with Outlook. I didn't know that until actually just recently. I found that out, and that makes a lot of sense, since we're in Outlook all the time, or a lot of us are, and if you can sync your contacts with Outlook, then you don't have to manually put them in, if that's something that you would do. And especially for me with clients, that's important. Anyway, so you can sync Outlook with your Sage contacts. Also, when you're entering a phone number in Sage, most places, if you just enter in the numbers, it'll automatically plop in the punctuation for you. So you don't have to enter in the parentheses and the dashes and the spaces. So that's an easy thing to do. And for entering in dates, very similar. If you enter in just the first 4 dates, if it's this year, if it's in the current year, it'll finish it for you, putting in the punctuation and filling in 2025. So that makes it easier too if you're entering in dates. Okay, what do we have here now? Looks like I need to, that's right. I'm not in the design form. I'm in the PDF form, so I can't change that. Looks like I needed to move this down so that fills in better. But anyway, on the Sage Home tab, which is right here, you have your information. I think I mentioned this once before, but down here on the Sage 100 contractor spot, you can open this up, and it gives you information about your system, your particular system. Let me see if that'll make it bigger. No. Okay. So anyway, it'll give you the update version that you're on up here. It'll give you your information, your customer number and everything, and it'll show you which modules you have And down below, I think, let's see here. Yeah, and so it'll show you which modules you have. And so that's useful information, usually if you're calling support or just trying to figure out, which version you're on or which modules you have. Okay. Now let's start taking a quick review of SQL statements. Now, in this case, we're writing a job report that needs a cost to date column. But the primary table does not connect to job costs. The primary table, looking at this part, shows me that it's probably the accounts receivable table because jobs are the main thing here, and there's only one line per job, and so I could look inside, but it's not handy. And so the primary table would be the accounts receivable table, and the job cost does not connect to that. So let's take a look. So we need to do an SQL statement to get the cost to date data. And so what we do, and I split it into the three different groups here, but this is it written out. Select, and using the word sum, I'm not sure how much that's really needed, because if you're in the right row or band, a subtotal band or a total band, it's going to sum it up anyway. But anyway, select job cost amount from the job cost table. And so you're telling the system you want the cost from the job cost table, and here's the guidance or the selection criteria. It's in the job cost table where the job cost status is 1, that's open, 2 is void, and the job cost job number equals the job number in accounts receivable, which is the primary table. And so it's telling the system that there is a way we can connect the primary table to the job cost table by doing it this way. Here's what we want, here's where it is, and here's how it connects. These right here. This is a selection criteria that is not necessary for the connection, but it's necessary so that you don't get voids. And so that's how that is structured, and that's how all SQL statements are structured. So you've got the three parts: the select, the from, and the where. The select gives you the field that you want. The from gives the table that it's in, and the where tells the system the selection criteria. Status equals 1, and the job number equals the job number. And as I mentioned, the curly brackets are always on the right side of the equal sign. If you don't have the curly brackets, it won't work. It's always necessary. And then I don't show the square bracket here. I should have, but the square bracket is at the beginning and the end of the statement. At the very beginning and the very end. That tells the system that this whole thing in between these square brackets is the formula. The system needs to know that. Okay, and please let me know if you have questions or comments. So let's take another look at this one. This is the one that we've just talked about. It's just an extra way of stating it. It's to extract a cost amount in a report from the job cost table database for a report that is not in the job cost database. Okay. Now I'm basically showing the screen that you use to create the formula and how to do that. And I think you're all aware of how to use the calculated fields area where you have the tables, the fields, and the various types of functions. And this is that same formula. There's the square bracket and there's the square bracket. Okay. And so here we have, again, there's the column that is filling in with the data that this SQL statement is extracting. I think we've beaten this horse to a death. So if not, then you let me know. No, we're still beating it. So anyway, this is the cost to date. There's the column, and here's the modify screen showing it as well. All of this is in your materials that I sent you. And so that's there. Okay, let's take a look at this. This also is a review. This is from my book. It's been in the prior week stuff showing an official description of what each of these mean. Now, the select is there, and there's a select sum. Let's see what that says. Locates and totals all figures for the selected field. You can use select sum in place of the select portion of the expression. And my experience is if you're in the right table, if you're in the right row, like subtotal row or total row, it's going to do that most of the time. Anyway, without the word sum. So let's see what else. Now, between, you can use between. Let's look at this here. Let's look here. Oh, yeah, I must have it down here. Okay. What? I'm surprised I don't have it shown here. Maybe I do on the next page. But basically, the between would be used after the where cost code number, and instead of an equals, you type in the word between, and then you would give one field and another field, or a date and a date, or a number and a number, depending on what parameters you're looking for. I think we'll probably see another example of that. And there are examples in the book also of that, of using between. Oh, there was one other thing up there. Inner join. Okay, well we're going to get to inner join. Okay, when you're doing your formula and giving it a name, like up at the top here, like right here, and you give it the name of it, you separate it using a caret, but you can also use an accent mark. It is, oh, you know where the tilde is. Oh, hang on. I gotta turn that off. Forgot to turn that off. Okay. You know where the tilde is? That's the little wavy line up at the top left of your keyboard. The accent mark is up there right with it, and that's where this is located. The difference between them, all of them are made with a caret, but sometimes if the formula isn't coming out and you can't figure out why you're not getting the right numbers. I always will try using this in the name of the field, of the formula, instead of the caret, and that makes a difference. Let's see if it says here why. Okay, if your data numbers are showing up incorrect, try using this. Okay, it doesn't say why. And oh yeah, I put here, I don't know any set rule to follow in every case. There was nothing written anywhere about it. I've figured out over time using that, and why it works and why it doesn't, don't know. But it does sometimes. And so if your numbers aren't, if your formula is correct and your numbers aren't giving you the right numbers, like oftentimes it means it's multiplying the number so that instead of the number being 100, if there's 5 rows, might be 500 because it's 100 times 5 rows. And so that's one option when you're writing reports. Okay. Now, a long time ago, I spoke to Sage, and I asked them if the order was important of the things that are after the where statement. And they said, absolutely not. And I said, absolutely it is. And it is. It isn't always important, but I found too that if the calculation isn't providing what you need, usually it'll give you an error. If it's not going to work, it'll give you an error, or just say not happening, and so this statement here is after this statement. Doesn't matter which this statement is or this statement is, but if it's not coming up, then just switch these two so that this one's first and this one's second. And a lot of times that'll make the difference. So it's real scientific, huh? Yeah, it's a crazy thing.
Sometimes a scientific pain in the butt.
Yeah, absolutely. It is nonsensical. So let's just keep that in mind. If you're having trouble with a formula and it's not giving you what you need, just try switching them. Only the after the where stuff. Okay. Okay. Now here's the between. Let's see if I've got an example. Actually, I'm not even showing you an example. Shame on me. But anyway, what you do is you do between number 1 and number 2. Okay, so the syntax is, so if you're looking for a range between 5 and 10, you would do something is between 5 and 10. And what that will do, it will include the numbers that are here plus the ones in between. And that's why I've stated this. So if the range is between 5 and 10, it'll give you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's what the between does. And so that's quite useful to help you instead of having to do the same SQL statement and then plus an SQL statement for 5 and a plus sign, another SQL statement for 10 or for 6, another one for 7, and so forth. So the between allows you to cut corners there nicely. Okay, so let's talk about inner joins. Inner join joins two tables and creates a one-to-one relationship between records in a table. Okay, so what that means is table 1 inner join table 2, And then you say on, and then the relationship between a field. Let's get an example here. Okay. Okay, here we go. The select field is always the first table. Okay, let's go back a bit. In a statement, let's see. Okay, here's a statement right here. The select, the field that's here always has to be the first table, the prime table of that statement. It has to be this kind of a field. You can't have a prime change field here if this table is first. And so after the select statement, this is first, and then it's first here. And then the tables that you're joining can come after that. And so the structure is from the main table, comma, the other table that you want to join, and then comma, and then you're taking these two things and saying the first one interjoin the second one, and then saying on, and these are two fields that connect. These are two fields. These are a field that is in the first one and the same field in the second one. In this case, record number, and record number. And that's how you connect tables with using interjoin. Crucial to get a good grasp of this, because without that, you'll have a hard time, making a lot of different reports. So again, select budget price. Okay, sub change line budget price from the sub change line table, and we need the prime change table, and it'll say Y down here. Sub change, prime change, and the sub change interjoin on the prime change. And then these two have to be in the same order as here. So first one, second one, first one, second one, first one, second one. And so on the sub change line record number equals the prime change record number. Now, if you see the relationship between prime change and sub change, usually the prime change record number is always going to be the same as the sub change line record number. I don't know if I'm making much sense with that. Maybe I'll just leave that as it is for now. We'll get to more of these and we'll have more examples. Okay, so, and then the where comes after, your select from, and then where. You still have to have the where, and these are the parameters like the selection criteria. So basically the prime, and this is the reason why you need to connect these two tables, because the sub change line table doesn't have the status. It doesn't have, let's see, it has, status is probably the main thing. And after the where, then you can use either of these tables to give it the selection criteria. And that's why you have to connect some tables together so that you have the option to use items from the prime change in your where part and the subchange in your where part too. But you'll have, since this is the main table, the subchange line table, you can use subchange line items here in the where statement. But if you need to say status is less than 5, in other words, I don't want voids, the status isn't in the subchange line table. And so that's why it's important to be able to connect tables and get data so that you can tell the system, this is exactly what I want and what I don't want. I don't want voids, and that's what this is saying. And then this is vendor contact, vendor, I'm not sure what CTC means offhand. Anyway, so the vendor record number maybe equals the subcontract record number, and the subchange line status equals 1. Okay, let's keep going, and maybe it'll start making some sense as we go through this a little bit more. Now I've basically broken this out here, and I was doing it verbally up here. So this just explains a bit more visually. So I probably don't need to go through that part again. Now a closer look at the inner join part. From the primary table first, then the connecting table. That's what I was saying. Whatever the first, the select item has to be from the primary table of that statement. Okay, in the inner join, the primary table first, then the connecting table. And then the on part is the primary table first, then the connecting table. And so here's what it looks like all together. Okay. Why do I have, okay. Here's the statement, and here it is broken out by select from and where. Okay. And it's the same one that we've been talking about. And I kind of beat these to death because sometimes it's hard. Maybe one of these pieces will click for you. And so that's why I keep, here it is, and here it is, and here it is, a little bit differently each way, so that hopefully, you're getting it to sync in your head. That is SYNC, sync. Not S-I,
yeah, I don't really use those tables.
Yeah, not SINC, SINK. Okay, anyway. And so that's what those are. Let's see. Overwhelmed yet? I would guess you probably still are, but let's keep going. Okay, so questions on the SQL inner join statements from last week. Don't worry about left join or right join. I don't use those myself, and you don't find those hardly any place, being used by Sage, maybe once in a while. But the difference between them is, with an inner join, it returns records that have matching values in both tables, the table on the right and the table on the left. Okay, so left join returns all the records from the left table and the matching records from the right table. It's to me, it's almost the same thing, but it isn't in the SQL world. And so left takes the stuff from the left table. This takes the stuff from the right table. That's all you have to worry about it, and don't ever think about it again. So we really only deal with inner join. I mentioned left and right because you might come across it. In some of the training things I sent you listings of mentioned those, but don't worry about them. Okay, now I think we are still, okay, no, this is a different one, so that's good. Okay, so here's a report. Of course, this is the modify screen, and it's this one field that we're looking at, and that is in the budget and change orders oh no, that's in the labor column. So that's cost type, and it's not the budget number, which is here. It's the balance number here. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. And again, it's an inner join. Or at least something is in here. Okay. So we're selecting the labor budget from the budget line table. From the budget line table, where the budget line record number is equal to the accounts receivable record number. Okay, that's one. That's a statement. And then we have a statement here plus the sub change order line budget price from the sub change order line. And here's the inner join. And actually, yeah, this is just a single inner join. So you got basically the sub change line and the prime change inner join, and doing the equals, and then where the cost type equals to, because it's labor, and the status equals 1, and the prime change job number equals the job number. Okay, so here you have in this statement, you've got 3 pieces. You've got an SQL statement here, and an SQL inner join statement here, and an SQL statement here. And basically, those 3 pieces are from this chart. It's taking these 3. It's taking these 3 to get. Let's see. It's probably taking these 2 to get this third one. Anyway, so looking at it, we are saying we need the labor budget plus the change order labor budget, and we're taking away the job cost amount for labor. Cost type equals 2. Okay, so that's what it's doing. It's saying when you have a budget, you have the budget, and you can have change orders to that budget. Okay, that's what these first 2 are. This is the budget, and this one's the change order part of that. So these 2 together give you the full budget amount. And to get the balance, now we're subtracting out the job cost budget or the job cost amount from the cost type number 2. And so in this one, and when you write reports like this, you need to be sure you're dealing with the same thing in each one. This is LAB, so labor. And in this one, you've got cost type equals number 2, labor. And down here, cost type equals 2, labor. And so making sure, if you're doing labor material, obviously that's not going to give you a good number. And so that's why those things are important. Let's see what we've got coming up next. I think it's the same one. Yeah, and I've made them different colors so you can see them differently, or see the different pieces. And the breakdown is split out a little bit more here. And this is even more broken out. So here you got the one statement. Here you got that statement with the two tables, the inner join on those two tables, and then how they connect right here. So all of this is basically this broken down and then broken down further. Any questions? Okay. Nope. Okay. 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 Now, interjoins will only work if there is at least one common field in both tables. And, oh yeah, these are the common fields. This is the database I showed you last time. Here's the database for AR tax details. Here's the fields in that table. And these two are the connecting fields from different tables that connect to these. And so let's take a look at the diagram. This is all together. This is split apart, so it's a little easier to visualize. And so the prime change line, let me see if I can get this to be bigger. Here. It's always risky. Okay. So the prime change table, let me see where we are here. Subcontract, change order, budget amount. That's what this is getting. The change order screen. We need to combine both tables. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. This is the prime change. Okay, see, this is the, okay, now I got it. This is the header and this is the footer. So that's from the report form. Okay. And this is the data from the custom report. This is a table. The header footer is a table, and this is a table. And it takes both tables to give you a screen. And that's true almost throughout Sage with almost everything. And so if you want data from here, you almost always have to interjoin both this table and this table to get what you want. Because this has things like the status, the job, the types, things that help you to define the data that's here. In other words, you need some of these pieces to get the numbers out of here that you want, and to exclude the numbers that you don't want. And so that's what the where does. But you can't do the where just from one table, because it takes both of these tables. So here you have the sub change line, which is because this is the sub change line because it's got the lines of data, and the prime change, which is this part of the table here, the footer and the header. And so what I'm trying to show here is the screens require using inner join to connect this table to this table, so you can get data from this table and restrict the data by some of these fields. And that's what all of this is doing. You got this table here and that table here, and you need both. And that's how you get it, through an inner join. Okay. So let's talk to each other for a minute about inner joins. Tell me your thoughts and your understanding of it yet. Don't be shy.
So like when I'm trying to do because most of what I work with is payroll related or employee master file related. And it makes sense because just because it's on the payroll screen doesn't mean I can create a statement unless I connect it to a different table in the payroll screen.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Of where my problems have been coming up from.
Yeah. Yeah. And this piece right here, it kind of helps to understand that, because all the screens have two pieces, two tables. And if you want some of this data, you have to use some of the data from here in the where part to get it out correctly. And
yeah, I kind of got what you were talking about last week, but seeing that screen kind of really just clicked it for me. So that was cool.
Okay, good. How about the rest of you? Oh, you doing okay, or underwater, or are you still there?
I'm probably going to have to come back and rewatch this a few times, but I don't deal with these tables in particular, or the reports. So I think I'd have to play with it a little bit to see, to understand what I'm seeing,
Okay, and
the entries versus the product.
That's totally fine, because it takes doing that to get it, by in quotes, to get it. So no problem with that. Okay.
I'm with you in theory. I'm listening, taking it in. I gotta watch it again, but these are the tables that I work with mostly. So I get it in theory.
Okay. Yeah. And then practice is what it is.
I have to practice.
Practice is practice. So okay. Okay. And that's what it's going to take to kind of grab it, get it, and flourish using it. What's good is that in my book, in the back section, you've got all these examples of tables and statements and all kinds of things to look and figure them out, because they're there for you to see. Okay. Now, okay, let's do why I save my reports often. Let's see, is this the right one? Okay. Okay, well, not quite ready. Let's see. It's the other one. Okay. Okay. Saving a report often. Okay, you've noticed probably, like up here, I do the -3, -4, -3A or 1A, 1B, 1C. I do that often. Every time I make a change on the report, especially if it's a formula, but even sometimes if it's just something else, I'm so scared, you could say, of what I'm going to show you happens that I'm anal about doing this every time I even touch it hardly. Okay, so here's one that I've done, and I've created it this far, and let's see, this is before the printout being created. The next step is to add a column called salary. Okay, so I added a column entitled salary, and then wrote this formula right here. And when I click OK, go, and then I get this error message, and it says an error has occurred while reading the report file. Input string was not in a correct format. Well, you'd think that, okay, well, tell me what it needs to be, or just let me try again. Well, this is what the screen looked like after the message popped up. See, here's the message, and here's this screen right here. This is what it looked like. Empty, zip, nothing there. It was gone. It took it all away. And this is what it is. Sometimes that error, and it happens to there's another report writer and myself that have been doing this for a long time, and even now this happens to us. And matter of fact, he came to me just a couple of weeks ago, distraught because he had spent so much time on a report, and this happened, and it was gone. Oh, excuse me, and it was gone. And that's why I ask you to really pay attention to this instruction. Save it every time you touch it. Because if you lose something and you've spent hours, maybe even days, getting this ready or so to a certain point, that's why I do what I do. And so anyway, let's go on. Okay, this is talking about the cost to complete module. I'm not going to spend much time on it. You've got this in your materials that I sent, but basically the cost to complete module has a use that is really good besides using it as the cost to complete module. For report writing, there are many reports that you write that, depending on the table you write them in, you can't get all. Let's say we're writing in the budget table, a report in the budget table. Okay, then you're only going to get jobs that have budgets. Sorry, you're only going to get jobs that have budgets. If you're writing a report and you want all your jobs to show, if it doesn't have budgets, it's not going to show. And so you don't have all the data. If you're doing a cost code report, or a report where you want all the cost codes to show, and that's really the key thing here with using cost to complete. If you are writing a budget report and some of the cost codes have budgets and some don't, well, if you're doing a job cost report and you're doing it in the budget table, you're not going to get cost codes to show if they don't have budgets, even if they do have job costs, because the budget table limits what will show. And vice versa, if you're doing it in a job cost table with cost codes, if the cost code doesn't have a job cost yet, it's not going to show. And so if you're doing reports with, you want all the data, all the cost codes to show, even if there's no budget or cost, you're up a creek. That's one reason why if your client, if you are using cost to complete, you can do it in the cost to complete table, because all the cost codes are going to show, because this pulls in all the job costs, all the budgets, all the change orders, and so you get all your cost codes. So you can use the cost code list from here, and then from other tables, you can add the other things that you need to the report. My problem is that very few clients use the cost to complete module. And how do you use the cost to complete module? You click on options up here, and then click update, and that updates the job. And so for the cost to complete module to be current, you do have to click options update on each job before you run a report. Now, if you're running a report for one job, then you have to be sure that that one job has been updated. Yeah, see, there's the options, update, and the calculate. It would be the second part. So anyway, that's the cost to complete module. You can take a look more at that if that's of interest to you. Okay, let's look at a different topic here. We've got two statements. If the two different scenarios, this is a nested if-then-else statement, and this is too. Both are trying to pull the same data. And if you can tell, this is a time card line, pay type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, seeking the hours worked times the pay rate plus the additional divided by the total hours times the hours worked times the work comp percentage. And so basically that's a workers' comp calculation for a workers' comp report. And one thing, and I show you this not because of the workers' comp stuff or anything else, except that you really do need to check and test your results when you are progressing to see that the data is coming out correct. And the difference in this statement is it wasn't working when I used the time card line pay rate 1 here. It wasn't working, although you would expect that it would be correct because it's a time card line hours times the pay rate. When I changed to using the employee's pay rate, it did work. And I probably spent a bit of time figuring that one out because, this makes sense, but it wasn't coming out. And so when it's not working, you got to figure out, well, it should work. What needs to be done differently? And so those are some of the joys of report writing, figuring these things out. And that's why I'm bald. No hair left. Anyway, so that's all this is telling you, is that if it's not working, see if there's a different field, a similar field that is going to work. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Okay. What to do for a partial blank page? Okay, so let's say here's the report and you have a lot of space and then it goes on to the next page. This isn't true about every issue. This isn't true, a solution for every time this occurs, but this is something that you can try. To prevent the partial blank page with the overflow going to the next page, change some of the lower row types to total, which will get the flow back to filling page 1. So what I'm saying is right here, these are subtotals going all the way down. And if you change some of these to total, like here, that will get it to go continue on that page. In this particular case, this is kind of rare, but in this particular case, I've given lots of lines for data. And because these are all subtotal, it thinks that it needs to show all of these even if there's no data coming out. And if you change them to total, of course, that's going to give you fewer subtotal lines. And so it's a if this is better or if that is better type of situation. Anyway, one thing you can try, if it's not filling the page and it goes to the next page, is just take a look at the structure of your rows. Okay, we talked about this once before, but I'll touch on it again. Changing the field names. If you're an admin in Sage, you can go into a field and hit F7 or click in. Let me go back up to here. Click in a field and hit F7. And then you can see what the name of that field is. Right here, here's the name of the field, and here's the name of the field, and you can enter in a new name for that field. And down here here's the screen with that, and here's at the bottom is information telling you what these want. Anywhere in Sage, if you click on a field, down at the bottom left, it's going to give you a statement about the field that you've clicked in and what it looks for. If it's a status field up here, then it might tell you 1 equals this, 2 equals that, and 3 equals that. Or it might just say, looking for a number or whatever. Anyway, that's, so many people don't even notice that that's there, and all along it could be helping them. Anyway, so if you're changing the name of a field, it's going to ask you for the new name and what you want this to say down here. And that's what these two things are. This is where you type in the new field name and the user prompt. Now, one thing that you need to know too is, see right here, you've got a character field. Sometimes that's hard coded as what it is, character or number or date. But sometimes you can do the down arrow and change it. And that gives you the opportunity to change it to one of these fields down here, the types of fields. And if it's grayed out, that means you have to use the kind of field that it is, a character field or a date field or a number field. But if it gives you that down arrow, then you have the choice to make that change. And that's really good on especially the 3.5 screen. Let's see. There. Okay, the 3.5 screen, the setup screen for jobs. There we go. Here, this tab, these are all fields. Mostly these are date fields up here, and these are odds and ends. It could be it could be any kind of a thing. Let me just click in there, F7. Okay, so this is a character field, and that is hard-coded as a character field. I don't think that can change. No, but sometimes I think this one is okay to change. That's a number field. Nope, can't change that one. Yeah, I think this one you can do. Well, some of them will, and some of them won't. Many of them won't. Well, I'm not having much luck with this one, but there are some that you can change and some that you can't. But anyway, this is the type of area that really that's useful. But even on this, the main tab for the job setup screen, if you want to change this one to a new name, you can do that. You do have to be careful though that a lot of times the field that is the data that is preset to come in here is needed in other places. And so if you're sure that the user defined fields are always okay. But you need to, if you're going to change this from one thing to another, you need to be sure that it's not data that is going to be used in the system someplace else. Anyway. So.
If you go to contacts and personnel, I think some of those fields you can change.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've used that a lot in our master files. And then changing like what dates come up automatically for payroll. So I don't have to enter those in for 400, 500 employees.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I do when I enter in a new job, I have preset this one. I just change that to date received or start date. And then I also, here, let me F7 it. And then I also do, what is it? Oh, okay. I always put today. And that means that the date that it is a new job will tell me, and it'll stay there as that date. So then I can go back to this client or this job and know when that one started all the time.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay, yeah, and the other thing about this is if you want it to go to the next number always or the next date, you can do this, or if you fill in a lot of fields and you don't want to click to the next one, you can say skip this field. And so if you're starting up a new one and some of these are skipped, you'll enter in this one and then it'll go right down to the next one that you want to enter in automatically.
Okay.
And so that's what skip during entry means. And require entry, it puts an asterisk here and means you can't save this until that gets filled. And lock after save is obvious. And you can say mixed or upper always or lower always.
Yeah, I've used those
And,
too.
yeah. Anyway, so these are pretty cool items. Okay. Now, okay, line break. Okay, if a paragraph or a line of text is written in a calc field, in the calculation that you've written, use the line which is on your keyboard next to the backwards what's that called? The back slanting line. Right below the arrow that goes backwards. I'm really not saying that very well. Okay. Top row, second row down, all the way to the right. Anyway, and it requires the shift key to go up to get that. Anyway, that is something that you put in where you want it to go to the next line. And you can see that true of the address, you know, in the invoices and stuff where you have the addresses, the ship to and the bill to up top, and you know it gives you the name, and then the next line is the address, and the next line is the city state. That's because there's one of these lines where you want it to go down to the next line. Okay,
I've
so
never used that. I like that one.
yeah, so okay, now we got one more thing. Calculate a field. Okay, and here's a line break also. You know, so it's in the calculated field, and maybe we've got what that means. No, let's see. This is subcontractor understands the following. Oh, okay? So it's just type, you know, and you want the line to break there so that it doesn't go off, or you know, anyways, you want it to break there, and so you can just put a line wherever you want that to go to the next line. So that's what that is. Okay. That's that. And that is not that. There. Nope. Come on. There we go. Okay. Okay, Excel ready, and then we're done. Making your report Excel ready. The key to getting your report Excel ready is alignments are everything. The fields in a column need to all be, oh, that's wrong, either left or all right adjusted. The column header must also align with the fields below, right or left adjusted. Try to keep all the data in an existing column, even if different types. I'll show you in a minute. And then test. Keep sending it to Excel and see if you get different column data in different columns that you don't want. So don't forget that your header and footer on the report form also figure into that. So let's take a look here. So I'm talking about these need to be all the same, right adjusted or left adjusted, and then, you know, synced together. And so also, if you want your numbers to be numbers, and right now the system, because exported it to Excel, it doesn't recognize it as a number. That's what those little spots are for. If you want your columns with numbers to be numbers, then set the Sage field format to numbers like 000 with no decimals. And that you do in the properties, when you're setting, whether you want it dollars and cents or 2 decimals or whatever. And so that way, when you export it, if it's set as a number, it'll go to Excel as a number. Okay. Let's see if there's something else. Nope. Okay. How's that? 1 minute over. Okay, let's just think about week 6. What we need to do is cover the things that you need me to cover. So please send me areas that you want me to cover in the last week. And I've mentioned, if we need a 7th week, I will do that as a group or individually. And so let's make the most of week 6. And if you need more SQL time or interjoin time or whatever, anything that you still feel uncomfortable with, let me know before week 6 so that I can do that. And so that's it. That's it for today. Thank you so much for participating and being here. I'm sad because we're getting to our last week or last 2 weeks, and then it'll be over, and I'll miss this. But I appreciate you and your efforts. These are interesting and difficult things to learn, and frustrating with Sage as report writer, but you can master it. I guarantee you that you can master it, and then you can just have a lot of fun creating reports for work or for yourself that become very worthwhile and helpful. So anything else? And then I'll send you the recording probably tomorrow. Anything else before we close? You all left. You all left again. Okay. What's that?
I don't think so. I would play with this a little bit, but
yeah. Okay. Then we'll be in touch probably during the week and also next week. Looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
thank you.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay.
So I had a question that you may or may not be able to answer.
Okay.
So like a lot of the system reports, like our like when I print up my pay stubs, who can I get to, or how can I figure out how to recreate? So like I want to redo our pay stub, but keep it with the same layout. But all I have access to is editing the report form.
And that's all you have, actually. That's
okay.
it.
So I would have to probably contact somebody with Sage in order to figure out how they created that report, like the detail area and everything, or it's just.
Nope. They won't touch it, even if it's a standard Sage report. And I think I showed you a week or two back, the one that the report form part covered the whole sheet. There's a lot that you can do to get the information you need, and then you create the little gray box to fill in what it'll fill in, and that's kind of it. The check stubs are a little unfriendly in that sense, but but there is a lot you can do, but there's a lot that you can't. And that controlling that stuff in the gray box, like the pay groups showing or the calcs showing automatically.
Um,
Not too easy there.
okay. So I'd have to really become a whiz to really redo it, you know, kind of to my liking pretty
Yes.
much.
Yeah, using the report form.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's all I had for today.
Okay. All right.
All right. See you next week. Have a good day.
Okay. Thanks. Take care.